In this video, I want to show you how to use the derivative field in Rowie. Now, fundamentally, the derivative field listens to another field, runs some code, and then outputs a value. So we're going to need two fields, one to trigger the derivative, and the other will be the derivative itself. Okay, so let's add a column here, and we're just going to call this trigger, and probably the easiest trigger is just going to be the toggle, so we can just click that on or off. And next, let's just add in our derivative field. Let's call it dir. There we go. And behind the scenes, the derivative field is just running a Google Cloud function. It's just running a function. So you're going to need to set up Rowie run if you haven't done that yet. I've already done it, so we can continue on here. So first we have the default value. So this just means whenever there's a record added to Rowie, what will be the default value? And you've got a bunch of options here. But what we really want is down here. We've got our listener field. That's what Rowie is listening to trigger this column. And so all we have now is our trigger. But once you have a bunch of different columns, a bunch of different fields, you can use any of them to trigger this derivative. So we're just going to say trigger, and then we're going to set the output field. This is what do you want to be in the actual field, to be in this derivative cell when it runs. And so let's just do the easiest thing possible right now, a short text. Okay, great. So now we come down here, and this is the meat of the derivative. That is, this is the code that will run after this derivative is triggered. So for us, we have a toggle. So whenever that toggle is turned on or off, this derivative will run. And that is this async function will run. And before we do anything more advanced, let's just see like the easiest possible scenario. So we've got a return statement here. And what we want to return is we want to return whatever output field type we set here. Now for short text, that's pretty obvious. It's just going to be like a string, right? So we could just say, hello world. But in order to see what you actually need to return here, you can go over to our documentation and click on field types / supported fields. And here we're going to see this. So the short text is of data type string. And so for all of these here, if you set the output type to any of these here, you just need to output a string. Whereas if you go down to this select menu right here, for instance, for a multi-select, we would need to output an array, a list of strings. Or if you had a toggle output, so that is to say, if you went in here and you selected a toggle, then you would need a Boolean value, so true or false. So that means right here, return would be true or false. Okay, but let's just do this very simple version right here. So we're just going to put our hello world in, and let's update it. We're going to need to redeploy this cloud function, and this will just take a minute. All right, great. It's complete. We can exit out of there, and let's add a row. And remember, it's listening for this trigger, so let's just trigger it, and we can see hello world. So our derivative field is listening. We clicked it. It ran the code, and it returned whatever data type we wanted, which is a string right here. Okay, cool. But let's do like an actual mutation, right? We just returned a value, but why don't instead we just like do something to it, right? And this time, let's use some of these arguments that are getting automatically passed into our function. So we can see right here that these are all of the objects that we have available to us. And if you just click on the documentation over here, you can read all about them, but we'll go through them right now. So when this function runs, these are what's getting passed in, and thus these are what we have available to us when the function is run. So we have access to the row, that is the whole record of what is added in. So if you've got like 10 fields, you have reference to all of those, and we'll do that in a second. Ref is just the Firestore document. So it's like the row, but just in Firebase. So the record here in this row is Rowie's version of that record. Here, this is the Firestore record. DB is a reference to the whole Firestore database. This is the Firestore storage. And an auth is a reference to the Firebase auth admin SDK. Okay, so we want to do some sort of mutation, actually run some code before we just return a bare value. So let's add in another column and use this row object to see how that works. So let's cancel out of here. Let's add another column, and we're just going to call this text. It's going to be another short text. Let's just drag it over here, and we're going to put in hello here. Let's delete this. And when we come in, let's pull this open. So now instead of returning hello world, let's return the hello from our row. So we can go row, and we've got this nice autocomplete here. So if you ever want to see what methods and properties you have available to you on these objects, of course, you can just type it in and then do dot, and then you'll see what you have reference to. So we have row, and when you have dot, we've got all of our 3 columns right here. Our trigger column, text, that's the one we just made, and our derivative column, which is this one. So let's return text, but let's throw this into a template string right here so we can do it nice advanced ES6 way. So this is going to be variable, space, and then we can just say world. So once again, when we trigger this, it's going to run this. We're going to grab from the current row that's being added or that's being triggered. We're going to grab this variable and we're going to dump it in here, and it's going to be combined with, concatenated with a space world. Okay, let's take a look at this. And let's deploy it again. All right, great. Let's close this up. Let's trigger it. And there we get hello world. Okay, so let's do a more real world scenario, and we'll do an approval workflow. So we'll have 2 columns, and when both of those are entered, we'll indicate that it's ready for approval. So let's delete this column, and let's add in a price column and a size column. We can have small, medium, and large. Great, let's just organize this a little bit, and let's come into our derivative, and let's delete this, and let's just run some logic here. First, we're gonna go to our listener fields. Let's clear this out. One quick thing right here, sometimes when you delete columns, it'll still say it's selected here, so just clear it out. Okay, so we want to listen to both our price and our size columns because we want to run this function whenever either one of those changes, and we're going to check for both of them. And since this is going to be a binary state, that is to say, it can only be either ready for approval or not ready for approval, let's take a toggle, a Boolean type value. So all we have to do is just do some basic conditional logic. So if row dot, and we see them all here, price and row dot size is true. So this will mean if they're set, then we can just return true. Else, return false. Update it and redeploy. Great, now we're ready to run it. So let's set a value here, and we can see that it didn't change its state to true, but when we set our size, now we have a true value. So you can imagine a piece of clothing, for instance, coming in here, and once it has a price and a size, then someone can go in and they can review it for approval. But you can actually do more things with derivatives. Let me show you an example. We can call other APIs. So let's give an example of a dictionary API. So let's delete these columns. And we're going to have a word column. And then we'll have our derivative column. And we're just going to call it, let's rename it, definition. And we're going to use this free dictionary API, which you just send them a word and it'll return to you this long JSON response with definitions and other stuff like that. Okay, so let's go into our column config. Let's delete all this stuff right here. And because this is running Node, we have access to the fetch API. So let's just say const response equals fetch. And the URL will be this. And let's actually turn this into a template string so we can grab our variable from our row word. And it's going to come back as JSON. And it's going to be a long JSON object. And so I've just done the quick work to figure out the path to it. So we want to return JSON. There's the path, and then we just need to call a toString on it. Okay, great. And we want to return it as a long text. And then lastly, we're going to clear out. So we have 2 of 1 there because we deleted the columns, but we just need to clear that out and just make sure we're listening to our word field. And forgot to add in that these should be awaited because we're inside an async function. Great. Great. So now let's put a word in here and let's get the definition. Risible, of or pertaining to laughter. Fantastic. The last thing I want to show you is that you have access to any NPM packages. So let's just give a quick example of this. And so let's just delete what we have here. And we're going to underscore require Lodash. And we could use the camelcase function. So just return underscore camelcase. It'll just convert it to camelcase. So that's lowercase the first word and then uppercase the subsequent ones. It'll get rid of spaces. So we could just say the rain in Spain and update. All right, great. And we're still triggering from this, so we can just trigger that. And there we get camelcase. Let us know if you've got any questions about this derivative field, and we'll see you in the next video.